Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ku-ring-gai Council's Youth Services Healthy Eating Workshops. Good to have you. Thanks for coming. And this is being recorded and will hopefully be able to be available on the council website for others to see. I'm Charisse Ricardo. I'm the Youth Services Coordinator at Ku-ring-gai Council. We have many programs and services for young people aged 12 to 24 years old in the Ku-ring-gai area, and you can find out all that information on the council's website underneath the title Young People, or you can also visit Ku-ring-gai Council Youth Services on Facebook and on Instagram. So to introduce us to our workshop today, we have the wonderful Claire Ho. Oh, I can't minimize while I'm recording to read your bio, Claire. So maybe Claire, you could tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you can take it away. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much, Therese. Thanks everyone for joining in today. My name's Claire Ho. I'm an accredited practicing dietitian. I'm also the founder of my nutrition practice, 4 Season Dietetics. Beyond this practice, I'm also working as a clinical dietitian at the SAN, the Sydney Adventist Hospital. So I do work with a whole range of people, but I am very passionate, particularly about preventative nutrition as well as healthy eating. So I'm really excited to introduce you today on some tips and some nutrition ideas on how to improve your mental performance, particularly as exam periods are also here or coming up. And I'm sure a lot of these tips would find useful for this year, but also many months or years to come. So a bit of a background, 4 Season Dietetics. We do believe that every person's nutrition requirements are very different and unique, and is also variable with genetics, life stage, personal goals, and the environment. We do various things, which include working with councils such as Ku-ring-gai to provide a lot of nutrition information to the public as well. So something I'd maybe like you to think about, or feel free to share in the chat box, is what do you find the most challenging whilst you're studying or during this exam period? It could be nutrition or food related, or it could be studying tactics or anything. Just feel free to share them in the box and we can have a chat about them. Or maybe Therese, you can also share what you struggle most when you're working. So we have managing healthy snacks. That's a very good one. There's so many things to choose from, so you never know what's really the healthiest alternative. Time is a really important one. There's only 24 hours in a day and you spend 8 hours hopefully sleeping. So where do we fit eating and studying amongst all that? So that's some really good suggestions there. So some other common challenges that people do experience while they're studying or working is that fluctuating energy levels. You might feel very energized at the start of the day, and then you have that energy slump in the middle of the day or after lunch. That stress factor can also be considered, or the struggle to stay focused, time management, distractions. For example, we're at home very often right now. There's a lot of distractions that's very easily accessible. For example, the kitchen, and also motivation as well. So some factors that can actually affect our brain function that I'd like to touch on is these considerations. So how much sleep, physical activity, stress, alcohol, smoking or drugs, or hydration, as well as diet. Those types of things all affect our brain function as a whole. So if you think about what types of things you might be missing out on, are you drinking enough water? Are you moving about enough? Or are you sleeping enough? Are you spending too long studying, for example? Those all factors can also impact on the way your brain functions. For this slide, we talk a little bit about how your brain function has its relationship with your brain, with diet. So diet's very important for good brain health, and I like to say, just like an expensive car, our brain we need premium fuel to provide it optimal function and make it operate at its best. There is no really magic food that makes you keep your memory a bit better or feel energized throughout the day. We really essentially need a healthy, balanced diet with a variety of nutrients for optimal benefits. And another thing I like to really strongly believe in, our gut is essentially our second brain. So other than healing it and optimizing it from the brain, you need to feed it well for your brain to work well as well. So these are the 5 things that I'm going to cover today. So firstly, we're talking about what really is a healthy, balanced diet and what that entails, limiting added sugar, the reasons for that, and healthy fats in your diet that might help boost mental performance, containing foods that contain choline, maybe a term you haven't heard of before, and also flavonoids. So these 5 components are very essential for really good brain function and also optimize your mental performance, whether it be studying, working, or doing your exams. A little touch on what healthy eating is. So generally, healthy eating is including a variety from the 5 core food groups. So the 5 core food groups is firstly your breads and cereals, on this section here, and this is like your carbohydrates, so your breads, your rice, your noodles, your oats in the morning, and things like that. And the reason why they're important, they provide your body with carbohydrate, which is important for energy, and also fiber for healthy digestion. Followed by vegetables and fruit. Those are 2 different food groups here. They contain any types of greens or any color of vegetables. What's important here is it provides also a body with carbohydrates, fiber for healthy digestion, but also, very important, vitamins and minerals that our body require to function. A 4th food group we have here is dairy and dairy alternatives. And these are very important sources of calcium, which is very important for bone health. And particularly important during this young age where we're still growing. So our body requires a lot of calcium for our bones to grow, but also during this time period, you're essentially, even though you might think, oh, I haven't grown for many years, your body is still developing, your muscles are still developing. So calcium is still very important for that. And the last food group here is meat and meat alternatives. So when we talk about meat, we talk about things like beef, pork, or chicken. Meat alternatives, more addressing things like your lentils or things like tofu or eggs and fish as well. So those are very important building blocks for our body, that what our body requires for growth, repair, maintenance of muscle, and healthy cells. I like to call this component of the food group kind of like your Lego blocks. We need lots of Lego blocks in order to build healthy cells and healthy muscles. And some things that we want to perhaps have in small portion is your fats and oils, which we'll touch base in very shortly. So firstly is how sugar really impacts our brain function. So when I talk about sugar, I'm also talking about carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are broken down into sugar or glucose molecules when they're digested. And it's the only nutrient that really fuels our brain. Nothing else reaches our brain other than sugar. Foods that might contain sugar include your natural sources, such as your fruits, your vegetables, dairy, cereals, and grains, but also your added sugar like your honey or your soft drinks, chocolate, or snacks. And our brain actually demands a constant supply of glucose. And some foods can actually boost our sugar levels very quickly and then drop suddenly. So you might recall any experiences where you've had like a sugar crash from having too much food or too much sweets at one time. That's what's happening. We've boosted our sugar levels really quickly, and it's dropping very quickly and suddenly as well. And the reason for that is, this is a really good graph that explains it. So any foods that we call glycemic index or GI, GI is defined as the ranking of carbohydrates, the extent that it raises our blood sugar. So as you can see here, a lot of your what we call your simple carbohydrates or your high sugar foods such as ice cream or cakes and chips and biscuits, but also a lot of your white-based grains like your white bread or white pasta. What it does is it shoots your blood sugar up and then it crashes very easily down, crashes very suddenly. And you can imagine how that affects your energy levels. You feel very energetic very quickly, maybe for the first hour, and afterwards you feel awful and feel very sluggish afterwards. So we'd like to include a lot of low GI foods, so which are broken down very slowly in your body. So they are trickling, providing your body with very slow stream of energy throughout the day. And these foods tend to be like your high fiber foods. So like your basmati rice, vegetables, pastas and your oats, and also a lot of fruit. You might feel like, oh, how am I going to figure out what GI foods I need to figure out in my diet? So what you can do, some practical suggestions, is reduce the amount of sugary food and drinks that you have in your diet. So things like iced tea or chocolate milk or fruit juice, things like cakes or sweet muffins or chocolate. These types of things can actually are considered high GI and can shoot your blood sugars up very quickly. And some products actually have this logo over here. You might notice in some products the next time you go to the supermarket, and that means these foods are certified as low GI, and it ensures sustained energy, improve your concentration levels, and also satiate your hunger, which is very important as well. Some practical strategies that you might find useful is, so instead of having white bread or white rolls, you can go for your multigrain and wholemeal bread and wraps. Instead of rice bubbles or cornflakes, go for something like a wheat bix or oats or muesli. If you like crackers, instead of rice crackers, go for something like a Vita wheat or vegetables sticks instead. And instead of your short grain rice, like your jasmine rice, going for basmati or brown rice or wheat-based pasta, those ones are really good low GI foods. And also you can also choose starchy foods that are naturally low GI, such as your whole range of vegetables, like carrots or pumpkin, corn, chickpeas, lentils, and quinoa. Those are very good sources of low GI foods. So if you have any questions whilst we're going, feel free to put them in the box and I can answer as we go. Secondly, what's really good for our brain health is healthy fats. But before including healthy fats, we want to limit too much saturated or your unhealthy fats. So like takeaway foods, fried foods, cakes, and also fatty meats. Those types of things we want to avoid too much of because it can be detrimental to our brain health. The things that are like unsaturated, such as omega-3, they are things like your oily fish, so your salmon, your tuna, and your sardines, or nuts, a lot of nuts like walnuts or flaxseed and chia seeds. Those are very good to provide healthy nutrients to our brain. And if you haven't already, cooking with olive oil and canola oil, those ones are always easy ways to get healthy fats into your diet. And also, if you like to add avocado to your breakfast or your sandwiches at lunchtime, or even on a slice of cracker, that's a really good option to have to include healthy fats in your diet. And then we talk about choline. So choline is actually a type of B vitamin. And what it really does in our brain, it supports the transmission of information in the brain. So you'd imagine the effect of having a lot of choline in a diet. It helped with the transmission and retaining of memory and information. And you can actually find these in your eggs, your dairy products, and vegetables. What you can do is perhaps include eggs in your diet a bit more often throughout the day, or just ensure you have a variety or the rainbow of fruit and vegetables, and that will ensure that you do get a good amount of choline in your diet. So here asks that you need omega-6 fatty acid need to be in ratio with omega-3. And since our omega-6 intake has increased and companies have now marketing high omega-3 based foods, what foods should we avoid to reduce our omega-6 consumption? That's a very good question. I might go back to our slide. So your omega-6 kind of comes from your low boiling point oils. So like your vegetable oils, as well as any foods that are takeaway or fried foods. That's where a lot of our omega-6 comes from. It's very hard to determine the optimal ratio, to determine whether you have a good ratio of omega-3 and 6 in your diet without kind of like a detailed analysis. But what I would recommend is, for example, ensure you have around 2 to 3 serves of oily fish throughout the week, whether it be tuna, sardines, or salmon in your diet. And having cooking with olive oil and having some nuts occasionally throughout the week, that can ensure your omega-3 and omega-6 ratio is very good. And also reducing those omega-6 fats, such as your takeaway and your fried foods. Are there any other sources of calcium for people who can't drink milk? That's a very good question. So quickly before I move on to that, you can actually have soy milk or your plant-based milks. So you might have came across, actually, let me see if I have a example. No. But if you heard of the brand So Good or Vita Soy, I think what's important in your plant-based milks is to ensure that it's fortified with calcium. So brands like So Good or Vita Soy, you can choose a plant-based option. And then in the ingredients, which I'll show you in just a moment when we learn how to read labels, it'll show you that it has been fortified with calcium. Hi, Emily. That's all right. Welcome.
Hello. I'm so sorry. We just had some issues with the internet, but yeah, it's just it's like having issues. But yeah, it's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome. I'm the dietitian, and this is with Hia here and also Charisse.
Hi, Charisse.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you.
Good.
So feel free to add questions in the chat and Claire will answer them as she goes.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so we're currently on, we just touched base on healthy fats, and that can help with boosting your mental performance. So I touched base on how it's important to include a lot of oily fish in your diet, but also things like walnuts, your chia seeds, and cooking with olive oil, and also use a bit of avocado in your diet.
Oh, okay.
All right. So maybe just for Emily, just touching base on choline again. So choline, we were talking about how it's a type of vitamin that helps transmission of information in your brain. So it helps enhance your memory and also minimize fatigue. It's found in like your eggs and your dairy products and vegetables. So if you do already have a bit of eggs in your diet, or not having them enough in a week, maybe include them a bit more frequently, and also ensure you eat vegetables from a variety of colors and different types, just so you can get a lot of choline in your diet. And then, so you want to talk about flavonoid foods. So this is a antioxidant, and what it does, it helps improves memory. And it's found in things like your fruit, your vegetables, but more particularly in fruits like your apples and your berries and your citrus fruits, but also in things like tea and black tea. I wouldn't recommend too much caffeine for your age group, but something like green tea, a very low caffeinated drink, has antioxidant properties, so that will be very beneficial to help with improving your memory, but also your overall brain function as well.
I have a question, sorry. With the tea, right? Like, you know how you said try not to have too much caffeine. Does that include, like, you know, tea that, like, just normal tea that you have 2 sugars and like milk and that? Does that count as like caffeine? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that is also a source of caffeine. So caffeine is found in like your coffee, your black tea, and your green tea. I would generally say maybe keep to around 3 cups of form of caffeine in a day, as it's good in moderation, but not great when you have too much. And always hydrate yourself with water throughout the day as well.
Okay.
Right. So another type of flavonoid is actually dark chocolate. So if you enjoy dark chocolate, feel free to have it a bit more throughout your week as a little treat for yourself. And what it does, it has brain boosting compounds. So I generally encourage you to maybe have them in moderation, but that's something you can do to help with improving your brain function. You can either use dark chocolate blocks, or you can also use cocoa in baking if you like to bake, or for example, making some cocoa flavored oats in the morning, for example. That's some way to add some cocoa into your diet. But Emily, would you happen to have access to a package, like a box or something like that?
Does that include oats?
Yeah, you can grab a box.
Do you want me to bring that?
Yes, please. So we can go through it together.
Sorry, guys. I'll be back.
That's okay. Maybe, Charisse, you can bring something so you can join us as well.
Yeah, so I've got oats here, and
Yeah, that's perfect.
they've got, I think it's, I don't know if you can see, but the contents here as well.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're doing now is doing a bit of a label reading activity, so we can identify where all the sugar is coming from, and also fats, as well as maybe hidden ingredients if you have chosen a product. So why it is important to know how to read a label when we're talking about label is that nutrition information panel over here, the table. The reason why it's important is that's where all the secrets are. The marketing companies or the manufacturers can't make claims or mislead you anything in that section, because it's a legal requirement. It also gives you an opportunity to understand what exactly is in this product, and also to compare similar products. So for example, you're looking for 2 different types of cereals, which one is healthier, which one is better, that's where you can compare. So if you're looking at your label, you would see 2 columns. One column says average quantity per serving and average quantity per 100 gram. So the serving size is actually determined by the manufacturer. It may not be the serving size that you personally eat. So generally, I say if you want to compare products, always compare per 100 gram, because we're comparing apples to apples, not comparing apples to watermelons, for example. The serving size does give you a general idea of what a serving size might look like, but it's not the best indicator of how much you're eating, like I mentioned. So this table here will give you a bit of an outlook on what to look for. So the first thing we want to look for is energy. So the energy tells you how much calories or energy there is in a product. And for example, in this Carmen's muesli I have, per 100 gram, it says 451 kcal. So kcal means calories, or kj means kilojoules. This gives you an idea of how much calories or energy this product gives you, depending on how much you consume. I wouldn't generally use it to compare products because the components of foods might be a bit different. But what we want to compare between products is sugar, salt, and fat. So these are things we want to look out for. So for fat, I want you to have a look at a product per 100 gram. What does it say underneath fat? So you might see fat total, but also fat saturated under these sections. So total fat includes unsaturated and also saturated fat in one number. So we generally like to choose foods with less than 10 grams per 100 gram. Or if you're holding a yogurt or milk or ice cream, try for something that's less than 2 grams per 100 gram. Or for cheese, 15 grams, less than 15 grams per 100 gram. And that's for the fat section. Anyone wants to share that something that's above or below, you think?
So we're looking at the fats, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's for the per 100 grams, right? I have like two, which is interesting. I think this I'm not really sure, but it says on the top 9.2 grams, and then underneath it says 1.7 grams.
Next to fat per 100 gram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure of what that means though, if it has like the two numbers.
Like, does it look like this table over here?
No, mine's different.
Yes. So for example, your label should have, so there's 3 columns. The first column should say fat, and what's directly in the same row next to the fat?
No. I don't know. I don't really know, because do you mean the columns what's next to it? I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, right. Oh yes, I can see. So yours say we're looking at the very end column. It says 9.2 per 100 gram and 1.7 per yeah, that's right. So your very last column, that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So when it says here, generally look for food less than 10 grams per 100 gram, your product means it's in the right proportion. It's a good indicator of good amounts of fat in there.
So Claire, I've got some almonds.
Yeah.
So in the fat total for per 100 grams seems a bit high, 52.2 grams.
Yeah.
And then in the total saturated, it's 4.1 grams.
Yeah, so what you're holding there, it's not considered a packaged product.
Oh.
It's considered a raw ingredient.
Oh, okay.
So we want to compare with packaged products.
All right, I'm going to go get a packaged product.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, so what happens, I know because you said it's a legal thing, right, where they have to be exact on how much, how much fat, protein it is in it. What would happen, and I know it most likely won't, if they're not accurate and they're lying about their measurements? Then what would happen?
So each product has to go through what we call the Food Standards Australia. They would probably get some legal implications if they are not truthful with what's happening there.
Okay, so they would get into trouble by the law, pretty much?
Yeah, essentially, because it is a legal requirement. They can't taper with whatever is on it.
Okay.
And then after the fat, we want to look at saturated fats. So saturated fats are like your unhealthy fats. We want to aim less than 3 grams per 100 gram, preferably. So for example, this product I have here, it says 2.4 per 100 gram. So that means it fits within our recommended range for saturated fat. And then after fat, we see carbohydrates. So when we see carbohydrates, it often comes with sugar as well at the same time. Something to be wary about, it says sugar, it doesn't tell you whether it's natural sugar or added sugar. except sometimes, more recently, some products do tell you how much added sugar there is. But most of it is just combines natural and added sugar under one category. But generally, for sugar, we want to have less than 15 grams per 100 gram where possible. But if you do have more than 15 grams, you can look at the ingredients label that is maybe above or below your product. So, for example, my ingredients list is at the top over here. And if your product does contain more than 15 grams and you want to determine whether I can buy this product, just check the first 3 ingredients. And if it does contain a type of added sugar, so something like brown sugar or raw sugar or syrup, then maybe you need to switch it to something else because it does contain lots of added sugar in this product. But kind of like what I said, this sugar component does include natural sugars in it as well. So if you do buy a cereal box that contains dried fruit, for example, it would have a bit of natural sugar and it might exceed the 15 grams per 100 gram. In some products, you might also see fiber, but not all labels will have it, as it's not one of the legal requirements to list out fiber in your product. Generally, we want to have more than 3 grams per serve, so not per 100 gram, because we want to, it lets you determine how much fiber you're having in your diet per serve. And then last thing is salt. So generally, we want to aim for food with less than 400 milligrams per 100 gram or less than 120 milligrams per 100 gram, which is best. And so, for example, this product here, I have 10 milligrams per 100 gram. So that means this is very low in salt. In some situations where it exceeds the amount of salt suggested here, so more than 400 gram, you might again want to look at the ingredients label to see whether it contains any high salt ingredients. So something like garlic salt, onion salt, or Himalayan pink salt, or baking powder, those are all types of salt. And even though it might sound very fancy, there's sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, at the end of the day, it's still a type of salt. It might taste a bit different, but your body only recognizes it as a type of salt. So it's all good to include different types of salt in your cooking if you prefer, but generally for good health, we don't want to have too much salt in our diet regardless. All right. So quickly about the ingredients list, it's listed in descending order. So the heaviest or the most concentrated product is first. So for example, a wheat bix might have hopefully 97% of wheat. That means this product contains 97% of wheat and followed by raw sugar or salt and barley malt extract, vitamins and minerals going in descending order. Sometimes the percentage is included. So for example, if you do get an apple pie, sometimes it might list apples as 40% in the ingredients. So this, like I said, this ingredients list is very useful for you to identify the sources of fats, sugar, and also salt in your food. So what can you do to kind of boost your brain to start your day off with all these things we talked about? So limiting added sugar in your diet, having a lot of brain boosting foods such as healthy fats, choline, or flavonoids. So what we can do is ensure that your breakfast contains 3 essential things. So a low GI carbohydrate, a type of protein, and also healthy fats. So this slide you might find useful to build a breakfast that you can incorporate. So for example, you might choose a wholemeal toast with maybe some eggs for morning, and then we want to always contain some healthy fats to stay satiated, so maybe an avocado. Another breakfast could be maybe some rolled oats with some reduced fat yogurt, and optional to add some berries. And in order for the healthy fat component, maybe you can add a tablespoon of peanut butter into your breakfast. And this breakfast ensures that your energy levels is sustained throughout until hopefully lunchtime. And then at lunchtime, you can choose a more satiating lunch again, consisting of those 3 important components.
I don't know if this is like really healthy, but like, can natural honey be considered like? Can we also have it with like our oats and that?
Yeah, so honey is you can't, maybe Emily, you missed the first part of it. It might not make a bit of sense to you, but honey is actually a type of sugar that can boost your energy levels very quickly, but also make your blood sugar levels drop very suddenly. Okay. So maybe if you have small portion of it, like like half a teaspoon, like a teaspoon or something like that, then to sweeten your oats in the morning, that would be perfect. But I would also encourage you to also include some healthy fats in your porridge, just to ensure it sustains your energy beyond the first 2 hours.
Okay.
Right. So some tips before I move on how to optimize your brain function during studying or exam period is eating at regular intervals. It's very easy to be too concentrated and miss a meal, but that's very important to sustain your energy levels, to eat regularly. You can try maybe to do small frequent meals instead of 3 large meals. Some people might find that big meals might make them feel very sluggish afterwards. So maybe you can have 3 smaller main meals and have a bigger snack in between, just so your energy levels is very stable throughout the day. Staying hydrated is also very important. So drinking plenty of water is very important. Generally, I say 8 glasses or 2 liters every day, just so that your body is very nourished and your brain is very hydrated. Smart snacking, which I'll talk about in just a minute, how to snack smartly. Ensure maybe you can plan at the start of the week what your snacks are, add them to your shopping list, and also pre-portion them as well. Enjoy your snacks away from your desk. It's easy to have that habit of doing everything at your desk because we're all at home. Take that opportunity to take a break, 10 minutes just to go enjoy a snack, maybe outside or in a different environment, just to give your brain a bit of a break as well. And lastly, sleep is very important. So other than food, ensure you sleep well.
So like 8 to 10 hours of sleep is like ideal for our age?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So sleep early, or ensure you do get enough sleep throughout your week as well. So some healthy snack suggestions I have here does take into those brain boosting considerations. So mixed nuts here is a great source of healthy fats for your brain, or you can have things like roasted chickpeas. This is one of my favorite brands. I think they're very good. Or if you like popcorn, having some lightly salted or slightly sweet popcorn might be something you can incorporate in your day. Or you can have veggie sticks with dip, have some apples, make yourself a berry smoothie with some yogurt, and also maybe add some chia seeds just for that healthy fats and also low GI sugars. And also maybe if you like, just having a slice of peanut butter toast on wholemeal bread is an easy and very nourishing mid-meal snack. Something you may not have considered before, something like edamame beans you might have had at the restaurants, but nowadays supermarkets in the frozen section do serve edamame beans that you can maybe just pre-portion and snack as a mid-meal. It contains a lot of protein, which is very good, but also a bit of carbohydrate to and fiber to keep your energy stable and very sustain you very long time. Or you can make yourself something like a chia seed pudding. You can look up a recipe, or you can put like a tablespoon in half a glass of milk or yogurt, and that really just fluffs up the chia seeds, making a very nourishing and also satiating snack as well. So you might have noticed the trend of the types of snacks we do recommend is ensure that it contains some form of healthy fat, but also a form of protein, just so those 2 combinations can keep your energy levels very stable and also keep your stomach very satiated for a very long time. So a bit of a summary of what we talked about. We talked about a few things. Firstly is limiting foods high in added sugar. So the reason for that, it boosts your energy levels, boosts your sugar levels very quickly, but also makes your energy levels drop very suddenly as well. So instead, choose for low GI carbohydrates. So these are things like your whole grain bread. Choose fresh fruit instead of your cakes or ice cream or sugary drinks. Going for whole grain crackers, or basmati rice, including healthy fats in your diet, so avocado or having some mixed nuts as a snack, including choline and flavonoid-rich foods, so eggs and berries, you can incorporate them throughout your day. And also maybe learn how to read the nutrition information panel if you go to the supermarket for a packaged product, checking if there's too much added sugar, sodium, and also fat. This is not only good for your brain health, but also your overall general health as well. Ensuring you do have a balanced breakfast so you start your day right and sustain your energy and boost your mental performance. And also choose snacks smartly with those options so you are keeping your energy stable, but also satiated at the same time. We do have a Facebook group that we've created recently where we have been inviting a lot of our community members in Ku-ring-gai to join along and share their nutrition tips, recipes, and also meal ideas. So feel free to join us over there if you're interested in continue engaging with us and learn more about healthy eating. And then, so good luck with your exams if they're coming up, or with your work. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But did you have any more questions, Emily?
No, I don't have. Okay, I don't have Facebook either, but I'll definitely get my parents to check it out because like it's really good. And also, you know, during the whole lockdown thing and online learning, I've been snacking a lot, and it's just I haven't gotten enough sleep. I actually ended up getting like around 6 to 7 hours of sleep. Yeah, but I think that's like with your presentation, even though I was partly like there, you know, I think you've made really good points with it, and yeah, thank you for that. And I will definitely improve my diet as well because I've been snacking a lot, and we've got a lot of eggs in the fridge, so I'll be using those, and like veggies. I think capsicum's good. Is capsicum considered good?
Yeah, it's a
really
type of
know.
vegetable, so that's really good to incorporate in your diet.
Yeah, so I'll be having that as well. So thank you. Yeah.
No worries. So in Cherie's pre-program pack that she might have sent to your email, there is a healthy snack guide that compiles all these healthy snack ideas that you can incorporate into your day. So you can always look back into that. And hopefully that helps with your studying and also exams coming up.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
Good to see you, Emily. Thank you so much, Claire.